You're listening to the Third Down Squad podcast, the best international news podcast for the National Football League. We're your hosts, Derek, Josh, and Toby. Let's get you ready for new set downs on Sunday.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Third Down Squad podcast. It is just Toby and I for right now. Josh may be joining a little bit late. Had something else he had to do on this fine Saturday. But we're here to talk some football, guys. We are now through week 2 of the NFL season, going into week 3. We're basically in mid-form now, which is great. I'm loving it. And there's a lot of news stories to talk about, almost too much that we can't get into this short episode. But we're going to start here with the week 1 recap, guys. So Toby and Josh tied for first place at the end of this week with a 10-5 record, and I finished with a 8-7. So I am 2 spots behind. That's okay. I'll make my way back. But let's talk about some games real quick. Jets losing to the Bills. We all picked that one. Josh was the only one to pick the Packers over the Vikings. The Washington football team pulling off the surprise upset against the Eagles. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. And Josh was the only one to pick that too, actually. And we all picked the Ravens to beat the Browns. We all lost in the Colts versus the Jaguars, which we're going to talk about here in a minute too. We all picked the Raiders to beat the Panthers. We all lost in our pick of the Lions versus the Bears. We all won our picks of Seahawks versus the Falcons. Patriots versus the Dolphins. Toby and I won that. Josh lost that pick. And then the Chargers versus the Bengals. Toby was the only one to pick the Chargers to win. Cardinals versus 49ers. I was the only one to pick the 49ers, so I lost that one. And then the final 4 ones, Bucks versus Saints. We all picked the Saints. We were victorious in that one. We all picked the Cowboys, which epically failed. We all picked the Steelers, which they won. And we all picked the Tennessee Titans to round out Monday Night Football, and they won by a slim margin. Toby, let's talk about the quick game here, the big surprise one of week 1, and that is the Washington football team, amidst all things, going in and their home opener and beating the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, granted, the Philadelphia Eagles were missing a ton of players, and I mean ton, I mean a ton. But ultimately, I think most people thought, Washington football team still has a lot more issues than them. They had the better head coach that some thought, and, they obviously had the better quarterback. So what went wrong here? Why did it go wrong for the Eagles in this?
Yeah, like you already mentioned, the Eagles are still missing a lot of players, and they missed a lot more in week 1 against Washington. And in the early parts of the game, it didn't look too bad for Washington. I think they were ahead, 10-0 at some point, and they had the lead into the at halftime. So
no, it was the Eagles were actually winning 17-0
or 17-0. Yeah, I couldn't remember when that score for Washington was, but they at least had the lead at 17-7 at halftime. So it wasn't too bad in the first half for the Eagles, but what ultimately killed them were the 3 turnovers for the Eagles, and Washington committed none. That was a big part of the game, late in the game for Washington to come back, and they actually had a decent third and fourth quarter, with not allowing Philadelphia to score anymore in the game, and pulling out the upset with a 10-point win at the end.
Well, I have a guy by the name of RB Philly Take. He covers all things Eagles. He's a buddy of mine, and I watch all his stuff. And after the week 1 loss, I had to go into his live stream to hear him talk about it. And he said, well, first off, the Eagles gave up 8 sacks. You can't win a game if you're going to give up that many sacks in a game. I don't care if you're the Cincinnati Bengals facing the Kansas City Chiefs. You will probably lose that game if you're giving up 8 sacks in a game. I'm just saying. But, so the offensive line was trash in that game. We'll just say it. And another thing that caught my eye was they said Deshaun Jackson didn't play in the second half, which is weird because, they were already stretched thin with the wide receivers. And Deshaun Jackson said, for anyone that's wondering, I was healthy. I was ready to go. I don't know why they didn't play me, but they just didn't. And so everyone was kind of puzzled, like, okay. So you left your most dangerous deep threat on the sidelines for the majority of the second half? Why? Uh I don't know why Doug Peterson still didn't answer why. Uh but here's the thing, going into week 2 as well, this has been the issue. Carson Wentz has not looked like himself. He's not looked like himself. He's been throwing really bad passes. Doug Peterson's not been calling a very good game plan offensively. Their defensive coordinator has been getting burnt every single week. They are giving up an average, I think they're giving up an average of 32 points a game through the first 2 weeks. So you're not going to win a lot of games either if you're giving up an average of 32 points. So right now there's a crap ton that's wrong with the Eagles right now. They got to get healthy first off, bro. They are so wounded. Not to mention Jalen Reagor, their first round wide receiver choice, is now going to be out for multiple weeks again because he now had something wrong with his thumb. And it looks like we got our other co-host in here. Josh?
Yeah.
I see him. There he is.
All right. There he is.
There he is. Round of applause. The man of the hour. Yeah. Josh, you got to show me that bathroom, bro. I saw those pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
The blue walls and everything.
Yeah.
All right.
That was my quarantine project for the longest time, but I just never got to it until now.
Lazy. Just kidding, bro. But anyway, Josh, we're kind of talking about week 1 and about one of the games that really caught everyone's eyes. And we were talking a lot about the Washington football team beating the Eagles with that performance.
Yeah. Let's talk about
you
that.
were the only one that actually picked Washington to win. What was your impression? Did you actually legitimately think Washington was going to win, or were you surprised?
I kind of knew, but I also kind of didn't, because I also saw how many injuries the Eagles had at the wide receiver position going into that game. So I kind of thought that the defense for the formerly known as Washington team was too much of a dominant defense for the Eagles, who had such little weapons to use.
I get it.
And also that's one of my random picks to go against you guys all the time.
Josh, you actually are tied with Toby for first place right now. You went 10-5 last week, so did he, and I went 8-7. So far, you and Toby are tied for first place. So, all right, well, we talked about. Let's talk about the Colts and the Saints, and then we'll get into week 2. Talk a little bit. Week 1, Colts versus the Jaguars. We'll talk about that one first. Obviously, one of the major upsets of the week. Colts were favored by 7.5 going into that game. And, I think Colts fans really want that one back. I think if you made the Colts replay the Jags now, I think the Colts would probably beat them. But nonetheless, we went down into Jacksonville, lost again. The Colts have still not won in Jacksonville since 2014 and have not won a home opener since 2013. So, Josh, we'll start with you on this one since you joined in just now. Initial reactions to the Colts when they lost week 1.
Shit. What that is, I'm sorry for swearing, but oh my God, I am tired of this crap. Oh, the Colts are great, which they are, but I'm just tired of let's go walk into Jacksonville, forget how to play frickin' football, A team that wants to lose, and we lose to them. Come on, man.
I don't know if they really want to lose, man. I mean, they played competitive. They beat the Colts. They played a competitive game against the Titans, made them kick a game-winning field goal. And, yesterday obviously was a bad game for them. But I also think the Dolphins are actually a relatively decent team right now. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Needless to say, Cody and I were not very happy when we had to go on our live stream afterwards. Also, I know I told Josh this, but Toby, did I mention to you about what Darius Leonard did before the game?
Yep.
Did I text you about that?
Yeah,
That
I saw that one, yeah.
put me in his. Oh man, that was so sick, dude. I was so hyped. I woke up and I was looking through Twitter and I saw that video and I'm like, all right, let's play this. Let's see what he's got. And then I hear my voice and I'm like, wait a minute. Did I go over something? Like what happened? And then I rewatch it again. It's my voice again. And I'm like, there's no way. And it's confirmed Darius Leonard listens to our podcast. I'm so hyped. That was the highlight of my day. I don't even care. Like, I didn't even care about the win or the loss at that point. I just knew I got in that. So that was funny. But, Toby, your quick thoughts here about what happened in that Colts Jacksonville game.
Yeah, from what I saw in that game, I think the defense for the Colts were a huge problem, and
huge problem. That's an understatement.
Yeah, and when huge is an understatement, you know that's bad.
95% accuracy.
And yeah, also the injury to Marlon Mack didn't help you guys either. I think he was a huge part of the game plan against Jacksonville, and they didn't want to throw other guys like Jonathan Taylor in that quickly into a lead role, and that played a big part in it too. So let's talk about week 2 for the Colts again, and it looked a lot different than it did against Jacksonville.
Well, he did. But here's my issue with what happened to Jacksonville. If you wanted Marlon Mack to be the guy, here's my issue. If you didn't want guys like Jonathan Taylor to have to carry the bulk of the load, why didn't you do it with Jordan Wilkins? Jordan Wilkins has been in the system now for 3 years. He knows how to run behind this offensive line. He does it almost as well as Mack does. So why didn't you just decide, oh, okay, well, Wilkins is going to be the number 1 back now. Jonathan Taylor's going to bring up the reins, and obviously Nyheim Hines is your guy out of the backfield for a catch. I just didn't understand the game plan, but we can talk about that forever. Let's do a quick one here of the Saints versus the Bucs. Saints' first game, they're playing against the Tom Brady-led Bucs, which is very weird to say, but first impressions for me, the Saints were able to get whatever they really wanted on offense. Tom Brady did not have a very good game. He had an average game at best. Kind of had a game of what Phillip Rivers had this last week, although even worse. So, Toby, first impressions here, winning the season opener.
To be honest, the Saints played kind of what I expected from the Saints, or for what I saw from the Saints over the last couple of seasons on how they do season openers. They are not 100%. They are playing at like 70% in their season and openers, because I don't know why, but they're not in the rhythm yet or something. But like you said, Derek, Tampa Bay and especially Tom Brady didn't have a good day. And it was even worse than the Saints' day, and the Saints pulled it off with a decent performance by their defense. And the offense, they had a lot to learn from that game, and it didn't translate into week 2 either, which we're going to talk about later.
Josh, any quick thoughts on that stuff?
Look good for Tom Brady, because the minute he lost and the Patriots won, you heard, oh boy, Tom Brady needs Bill Belichick more than Bill Belichick needs Tom Brady.
Immediately what it was. I told you.
Immediately after that game happened. Yeah.
Yep, immediately. And Toby, what's the word on Michael Thomas? I know they were saying that he's out for a couple
what is
weeks.
The word on him?
How long do we expect?
The expectations were 2 to 4 weeks. So they had him checked out before the game this week against the Packers. He isn't quite ready yet, so he was officially cleared to be out for this week. But I think expectations are high that he might play next week. Otherwise, they would have put him on IR for the 3-week IR that we have this year. So I think next week could be a good chance he's back.
Okay, cool. All right, week 2, real quick. Let's do it. Browns versus the Bengals. Browns win that one in the Thursday night shootout. Bears beat the Giants. And then Rams destroy the Eagles. Cowboys complete a 19-point comeback to beat the Falcons on a game-winning field goal where they trailed the game 29-10 in the middle of the third quarter, which is absolutely insane. We're going to talk about that game here in a minute. The Buccaneers get their first win, and Tom Brady gets his first win as a Buck over the Panthers. The 49ers, despite all the losses they sustained, beat the Jets 31-13 on the road. Steelers beat the Broncos 26-21. The Drew Lockless Broncos. The Titans win against the Jags on a game-winning field goal by Gostkowski. The Packers beat the Lions 42-21 behind the arm of Aaron Rodgers. Bills defeat the Dolphins in a close one, 31-28. The Colts have a blowout win against the Vikings in their home opener, 28-11. Washington loses to the Arizona Cardinals in their home opener, 30-15. The Ravens beat up on the Texans, 33-16. Chiefs beat the Chargers, the Justin Herbert-led Chargers, in overtime, 23-20. The Seahawks and the Patriots had another shootout. They were 35-30 Seahawks. And the Raiders defeated the Saints in their new stadium, 34-24. Let's talk about the first game here. That was the big one. Toby, your reaction to the Cowboys getting that crazy comeback despite being down by 20 with a little about 20 minutes left to go in the game.
I mean, as a Saints fan, other than a Saints win, it's nothing sweeter than seeing the Falcons lose. And to have it happen in that fashion once again, I mean, Falcons fans still hear from Saints fans about the 25-point lead they had in the Super Bowl. And when you see what happened on Reddit over the course of the last week between Saints and Falcons fans, this is gonna go around the internet for quite some time, and the Falcons will never forget about it, and the Saints fans will make sure it will never happen. But what a comeback from Dallas. I think Dak Prescott had a phenomenal game. I think 450 yards throwing, something like that.
Had one passing touchdown and I think 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, but I think, again, when you saw how the Falcons played, it wasn't quite indicative of how top-rated Dak Prescott, or how rated Dak Prescott should be, because the Falcons defense, we talked about it in the offseason before the draft, that the Falcons should look more into their defensive power with free agents and the draft, and they once again didn't do it quite well enough, and it showed against Dallas in the last 2 quarters.
Yeah, I don't know what the national media is saying about Atlanta Falcons defense being much improved. They're improved slightly, but not by that much, especially when you're giving up 450 passing yards to a hobbled Dak Prescott, too. Remember, he went out twice in that game. So Andy Dalton had to come in for a possession or two to help out. But there was a post I saw. Somebody said, the Falcons blowing another 20-point lead just reminds you that things are getting back to normal again.
Yep.
So I was like, yep, that is damn true. I'm so happy somebody mentioned it. Yeah, Falcons fans are never going to get over the 20 plus point differential jokes. They never will. It's embedded in their history forever. Yep. Both in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, and in the regular season. So I feel bad for them. But Josh, what was your reaction to the Cowboys coming all the way back?
My reaction was, how do you not get that onside kick? It's heading straight for you.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot. Okay. Look. Hold on. Those 3 Atlanta players that were in the frame right before that Dallas player hopped on that ball, they need to be fired and kicked out of the league for that. You, of all people, cannot forget that in one of the most important drives of the game, to know the circumstances that in this moment, we have to recover this. And for you to just forget that you're on the receiving team and that you can pick it up at any time. You don't have to wait till the 45-yard line to pick it up.
Yeah.
Here's the
No,
thing.
my thing with that was it's not a live ball until it crosses 10 yards. But it's not a live ball for the kicking team. It's a live ball for you, the receiving team.
Mhm.
So just watch them go run up to it and then circle around it like a horseshoe pattern, allowing the Cowboys player to run right into it and get it. And I remember I saw that once the game was over because my dad said, I don't know how the Falcons are still a professional football team if they just let that football just roll right past them. I mean, it was essentially somebody rolled it out to a little kid in the field, you know? It wasn't even going that fast. Oh my gosh, Greg Zuerlein deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for that because he just gifted his team a win or something. I don't know. Greg Zuerlein needs something. I'll tell you this right now. The Falcons will never get back to the Super Bowl. They just suck. Plain and simple. Their defense is atrocious. Matt Ryan, he's not clutch. He's not Matty Ice anymore.
He's inconsistent as all hell. I mean, it's amazing how much talent they have on that offense, but yet can never make it work. I don't understand. You have one of the best wide receiver duos in all of football. You have what many would say is a potential top 10 quarterback in Matt Ryan, and you have a pretty decent offensive line too. But they never convert. Never. They just
special teams coach deserves to be fired. I don't call for people to get fired often, but
I don't know who to fire, but somebody needs to be fired.
I know. But when you see the ball go like this and you see 3 Falcons players standing behind they're trying to box out LeBron James in a court, and then all of a sudden here comes a freaking Cowboys player, he just runs right in there.
It is a live ball for you. All right.
I know.
All right, let's get to the Colts and the Saints game real quick before we get into week 3. All right, so Colts game real quick, Josh. Colts won their first game of the season, came up in Lucas Oil and had a phenomenal game. After losing the game 3-0 going into the second quarter, they scored 28 straight unanswered points, only giving up another touchdown in garbage time to make the lead. Let me tell you. Go ahead.
Did you see DeForest Buckner throw what's his face with just one arm going like that?
It was the Reggie White hump move. It was the Reggie White hump move. He comes across with the hump move, and it blew his ass up. It was great.
And that's the one thing I remember from that game the most. The fact that DeForest Buckner moved a 340, 60-pound offensive lineman with one arm like that and ran at Kirk Cousins. That
described that game pretty well for Indianapolis. That's what the majority of that game was.
I will say, though, Philip Rivers' interception was not on him. It bounced out of Mo Alley-Cox's grasp right there, and it got deflected away.
In defense of Mo Alley-Cox, Harrison Smith made a good play on that ball. He did get his hand in there to kind of disrupt it a little bit. That's one of those bang throws that, just sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, people were all up in arms over that interception. Folks, it happens. And he never threw another one after that. They failed to realize he threw 80% in that game, Toby. He threw for 80% completion percentage, but all you could see was that one interception. That's all that mattered. I don't understand it.
Now, the tip drill was fantastic that whole game because that ball that Kirk Cousins kept throwing just kept bouncing out of players' hands and just ended up in the Colts' hands. I will say, though, I am starting to I think Michael Pittman is starting to get it, I think this game showed that he's starting to finally understand the NFL. I mean, sure, it's still week 2, and it's his rookie season, but I was a little bit nervous, after the first week where he didn't get a lot of looks. But with Paris Campbell down, I think now he's going to be stepping up more. And
he's going to get more snaps.
Taylor. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor. Oh, my Lord. That man is what we needed as a running back.
I hope you started him in fantasy.
I did. He's my flex option.
He had 17 points that week, so he definitely got you a decent fantasy outlook.
Yeah. So if you're gonna if you have him in fantasy, keep him. because he's
He's
going
only
to go
going to get better
far.
from here, folks. He's
Yeah.
only going to get better. If you thought the 26 carries for 101 yards was a lot, no, he's about to get even better. And the funny thing
Wait.
is that was a rough draft of what the Colts actually could become. Their passing needs to get better, but that's because they have young guys. Jonathan Taylor wasn't even hitting the correct holes half that game and hit 100 yards. He's still not used to the speed and the direction of how he's supposed to run. He left 50 yards on the board on Sunday. 50 easily. So I hope everybody started Jonathan Taylor. I hope they started Mo Alley Cox. And I certainly hope they started the Colts defense last week, because the Colts defense had 18 fantasy points. So if you had them as a lock, you're definitely going to want them as a lock for week 3. I'll just say that.
Oh, don't
But,
get me started on Adam Gase, the man who got that
Oh,
job
yeah.
off of Peyton Manning.
We'll let you discuss that here later on when we're talking in our week 3. Okay.
Garbage.
Toby, what about the Saints game? The Raiders came in there. They pretty much did what the Saints try to do on everyone else, but they
Look at
did
what
it even
Toby's
better.
did.
What
Like,
happened?
Derek, before Toby starts, I want you to take a look at Toby's, body language going into that. Like, he's ready to admit that he was wrong or something like that. Like,
Also, you
No,
wanted
they
to
did- they
say
did
something
bad.
about the concerns of Drew Brees, because apparently the national media is concerned.
Yeah, and that big breath that I took is kind of like, I'm getting used to seeing the Saints lose at least one game in week 2. I think ESPN mentioned it on their broadcast. The Saints didn't go 2-0 for the last 7 seasons. The last time they went 2-0 was in 2013, the good old times. But it just doesn't happen for the Saints. They always have that one weak game. I think last year was week 2 against the Bucks that they had a big loss against them, and for me it was just the same against the Raiders last week. And I mean, for the first I'd say 2 to 4 drives of the game, the Saints looked actually pretty comfortable out there. The Raiders couldn't get anything going. I think it was just they couldn't get anywhere on their first drive. The Raiders could, and the Saints scored the touchdown, and then had to settle for the field goal on their second drive when they were already in the red zone. And to the question of Derek, that was one of the examples why I think a lot of people think that Drew Brees is the problem in the game, and that was the incompletion in the red zone on the third down to Traquan Smith. And yes, the ball was a little behind, but it wasn't massively behind. It was still on his body, but he had to kind of just twist his body a little bit, and that had the hands out in front of him. And as a wide receiver, you know that big hit is coming from the safety in the red zone. And Traquan Smith just let go of the ball. You have to hold on to the ball in that situation on a third down in the red zone. And there were other situations in that game as well. I think every other receiver in the game, if it was a Jared Cook, if it was a Josh Hill, Emmanuel Sanders, Ty Montgomery, I think I could list anybody on that team that had at least one drop that Drew Brees wasn't responsible for. And Drew Brees ended that game, I think, with 28 completed passes in 38 attempts. So not too bad. And if you account for at least 6 drops that he wasn't accountable for, he only really missed 4 passes in that entire game. So yeah, Drew Brees might not have had his most accurate game, but I think that's mostly because he isn't quite comfortable with most of those receivers he has on the field. But it's also that the Raiders defense, they had a pretty good rush on Drew Brees on a couple of occasions, and the Saints offensive line couldn't quite hold the Raiders defense. So I don't think it was that much of a fault to Drew Brees on the offensive side than it was the wide receiver's fault. And on the other side of the ball, it was a roller coaster. The first couple of possessions for the Raiders, they couldn't get anything going. The defense totally locked them down. I think the Saints had 3 sacks in that first or second possession of the Raiders, and it looked like it was a done deal. The Saints were ahead by 10-0. The Raiders couldn't go anywhere, and Derek Carr was lying on the ground more often than he could complete a pass. So then everything changes. Drew Brees threw that one interception that he got pressured on. Of course, he doesn't have to throw that ball, but I mean, it happens. Every other quarterback was in that same situation and threw almost exactly that same interception as well. So I don't quite fault him for that much. But then the defense just completely fell apart. They couldn't cover anybody anymore. They couldn't get pressure on Dak Prescott anymore. And the biggest part was they couldn't contain Darren Waller. They had to put Demario Davis on Darren Waller, which they most of the times didn't. I don't know why Dennis Allen just put Demario Davis on Darren Waller more often and gave him help of Janoris Jenkins or anybody else that couldn't contain Darren Waller in there. And just the entire defense was crap after that interception. They have to get better. It looked like the Saints out of 2014, 2015.
All right, so guys, that was we're gonna look at now. Toby has the list. He made a makeshift list here of all the injuries that we can think of, and believe me, there's a lot of them. And this is not every player. This is not a specific list, but about 80% of the people that are on this list either had a torn Achilles or a torn ACL, and there's a couple of them on here that we'll talk about. I think the main one that we actually just want to talk about is Tyrod a little bit. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Toby, and read them your list here. This is astounding, the injuries for
All
week
right,
2.
yeah, like Derek said, there are a bunch of players missing. They're the top tier players that are written down and that they have the most impact for the teams. And of course, we're going to start off with who has probably the most impact on your fantasy team if you drafted first overall in Christian McCaffrey, who has a high ankle sprain. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's going to limit the abilities of he was the Panthers offense essentially over the last 2 weeks, and now that he's out, I think the Panthers are in an even worse situation. The second running back that we have to talk about is Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants, who tore his ACL and is out for the season. Same as with Christian McCaffrey, he was the offense for his team. But the Giants already have signed free agent Devonta Freeman, who is going to replace him, and I think he's a good enough replacement to kind of at least do something in the run game for the Giants. And next up, I think we could say it's half of the 49ers team that is currently sidelined. We're going to start off with the defensive line in Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas. Both of them tore their ACL and are out for the season. The 49ers have signed Siggy Ansah during this week as a free agent to replace at least one of them.
At least they still got Eric Armstead.
Yep.
Hey, I'm taking it that we saved DeForest Buckner. I might pay for that
Yeah,
in the future,
on
but
God, on
we
God.
saved DeForest Buckner.
DeForest, you're welcome.
And we're going to continue with the most important position for the 49ers, quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo has a high ankle sprain. He's going to at least miss this week. And Nick Mullins is going to start again for them. We're going to continue with the running back position. Raheem Mostert sprained his MCL. He's out at least for this week, as is Jimmy Garoppolo. And also Tevin Coleman, who sprained his knee. He's out for about 4 weeks. The replacements will be Jerick McKinnon and Jeff Wilson.
Oh, there. Who the?
Yep.
I'm telling you right now, the 49ers, if the Washington team is changing their name, the 49ers should change their team to like the Red Crosses or something like that. Because oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
San Francisco Red Cross. That's it.
And we're not done with the 49ers yet. Also, their tight end George Kittle is also out for this week. He has already missed week 2 against
I've got glass bones and paper skin.
Yeah, with the knee injury. He's likely
Every
to be
time
back
I
next
sneeze,
week.
I hurt.
But the
Every
thing
ball-
is, the 49ers played at MetLife Stadium this last week. They're gonna play at MetLife Stadium this week once again. So look out for an even longer list.
Oh, man.
All right, we're gonna continue with.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is.
Hold
really
on, Toby.
bad.
Before you keep going on, I just need to just say this. Just call it a season, San Francisco. At this point, you might as well just wait
You
for
lost
next season.
2 of your defensive linemen now. You lost the other one in free agency. You lost your quarterback for this game. Thankfully, it's not more. You lost 2 of your running backs, one for at least this game, one for multiple weeks. Then you also lost your tight end, who's the best player on your team. You lost him for who knows how many games. I mean, holy shit. And not to mention they lost, who was it? Debo Samuel? They lost, or no, it was,
Debo.
no, it's who was their receiver that they
Debo.
had? It was
Debo.
Debo, right?
I
Yeah,
think
right.
it was Debo
He's gone,
Samuel. I
right?
didn't write him down because it was already enough
yeah,
for the 49ers.
he was gone for a while, but yeah, I mean that's sad. But anyway, Toby, go on with your list.
All right, we're gonna continue with the Denver Broncos, who also have 2 players on this list. First off, their leading wide receiver from last season, Cortland Sutton, who tore his ACL and is out for the season, and he's not even missing for Drew Luck, who is also out for 2 to 6 weeks with an AC joint injury, and Jeff Driscoll is gonna be their quarterback for the time being. And we already touched on Marlon Mack for the Indianapolis Colts, who tore his ACL and is out for the season. Other injuries for the Colts were Malik Hooker, who tore his Achilles, also out for the season, and Paris Campbell, who has a PCL injury, is out indefinitely but not season ending. I don't know, Derek, if you have any more information about how long it's going to take.
It's actually, believe it or not, it was actually both an MCL and a PCL. Adam Schefter, doing what he does, reports things inaccurately at the beginning, and just to get it out first, it was actually an MCL more than it was a PCL. They placed him in IR this week. My guess is that we'll probably see him in about a month and a half, my guess. I don't know because they still have no idea how severe it is, but needless to say, we probably won't see him for at least 4 weeks.
All right. Now we're gonna continue
You know,
with the.
hold on,
all right, Josh.
Wait,
once again,
before we go, I think that we're not re-signing Malik Hooker, Derek. I
You
don't
want to
think we
talk about
are.
that?
I think we should
I'll
right
probably
now.
say it
Like,
now because I don't really want to. I don't want to say it on my other podcast. I'm still trying to get people over here. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the Colts are, especially what we saw in Julian Blackmon this last week. Julian Blackmon was more productive in this game than almost any game that Malik Hooker's ever had here in a Colts uniform. And look, he's been. People want to say Paris Campbell is injury prone. He's not injury prone. Malik Hooker, since coming into the league, is injury prone. In first year, had a torn ACL, had multiple shoulder injuries in 2017 and 2018. And then previous year, I think he had concussions and then another knee injury, and then tore his Achilles this year. I mean, this dude has spent more games off the field than he has on it. So, yeah, I don't think the Colts are re-signing him. I honestly do not believe it.
Well, this wall behind me, if it wasn't for Quentin Nelson, would be the hall of retired Colts players and gone, Colts players. Yeah. Andrew Luck, Vontae Davis, possibly Malik Hooker, Yeah. So that's going to be my retired wall. And then over here, I don't know what I'm going to do.
All right, Toby, continue with the list.
all right. Now we got.
Keeps
I
going.
believe the biggest freak injury that I've ever seen in the NFL with Tyrod Taylor, who is just listed with a lung injury. He's out indefinitely as well.
Call it what it is. They ruptured his lung, giving him an antibiotic. Okay,
No,
look, okay.
No, you got to call it like this. You got to call it like this. You have to call it a botched assassination. No, just kidding. You just got to call it
No,
somebody
no, no, no,
had
no, 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 no,
Justin
no, 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 no,
Herbert
no, 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 no,
and
no, no,
wanted him
no,
to start.
no. The NFL is actually the NFLPA is actually doing an investigation on that doctor, because I don't know about y'all, but it takes a decent sized needle to go all the way in and then puncture along and then rupture it. I mean, it takes more than just an inch, okay? It takes a lot. So why it is that the doctor was doing that to Tyrod Taylor, I don't know. And why he was so close to his lungs, I don't know, because I'm not a doctor. I don't understand. But nevertheless, like, obviously Anthony Lynn, the head coach of the Chargers, said that, it was a freak accident. He's a good guy. He just made a mistake. Yeah, but that was a really costly mistake. That could have potentially killed Tyrod Taylor. So, the NFLPA is going to do an investigation. But yeah, Toby, like you said, I have never heard of that before. I've never heard of right before the game, the doctor giving you a painkiller and shoving that needle so far into your freaking body that it ruptures one of your lungs. I don't know.
I did some research on how that could happen, because I had the same question as you, Derek. How, from injecting a painkiller, how do you puncture a lung? And as we all know, he got the painkillers because he had 2 cracked ribs from the game in week 1, and he was playing through that. Breathe. And apparently you have to inject those painkillers as close to the cause of the pain, so to the ribs themselves, as possible. And apparently they were correct in a pretty awkward spot, so that they had to go in awkwardly, but there is still a very, very small chance that you could hit the lung with that. And apparently that happened with Tyrod Taylor, and I think it might have just been I don't know what it was. Like I said, it was a freak
it could have
thing.
been a freak mistake. I get it, but like, I don't know if you should be a team doctor if you're going to be that careless. Like, I mean, because you have to understand the circumstances of being that close to the lung. You have to be more careful.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine they probably would have had an x-ray or something to where they could have seen where the needle was going. I mean, if you're giving a painkiller all the way into the rib, I mean, that would be one thing. I don't know. Just like, that still just seems fishy to me. Like, I would just think the doctor would be smarter than that, or at least would have been more cautious. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what the investigation.
Is that everything on the?
No, we have 3 more wide receivers on here. First off, of course, Michael Thomas, with the high ankle sprain, out 2 to 4 weeks. Like I said before, my best guess is he's back next week, but we'll see. Maybe it's the 4 weeks, and they should have put him on IR. But with them not being sure, I think the best move was not to put him on IR. We also have a wide receiver on the Saints' opponents this week with Davante Adams, a hamstring injury. He is doubtful for this week. We'll see about that. And also Julio Jones with a hamstring injury. He's questionable for this week at least, but game time decision. They don't know if he's gonna play. Probably, from what I've heard, he will not play. All right, that's all.
That Saquon Barkley one brings this up. So Victor Cruz had a torn ACL in 2014. OBJ had his in 2017. And now Saquon Barkley has his in 2020. So there's like a 3-year gap between ACL injuries for the Giants.
So in 2023, we're going to see Saquon do it again, basically, is what you're telling me. Don't laugh at that, Toby. That's not funny. All right. That was a joke, but I'm seriously hoping that he doesn't do that.
No, how much you want to bet that if the investigation of this doctor found out that he was doing it as a favor to his friend who had Justin Herbert starting and needed him to start in an attempt, he kind of like just went to go in. What if he sneezed? Like that,
I don't.
I mean,
Okay, let's just say this. Tyrod is lucky to be alive. Thank you for that. And, hopefully we get to see him back at some point soon. But
The way Herbert's playing, I don't think we will.
No. Anthony Lynn already said that he wants Tyrod Taylor back as soon as they can get him.
Yeah, apparently no quarterback should
always
lose
say
his starting job because of an injury. That's their point on it.
Because,
You don't want to have another Kaepernick
never happened in
situation.
the history of the NFL. Because, that's not how Tom Brady got his start. That's not how
Steve Young,
Aaron Rodgers, Steve Young, guys like that, that have shaped the NFL. They shouldn't have gotten to start because ultimately a guy got injured or had to retire. Shut up, Anthony Lynn. But whatever. Yeah, because he still says Justin Herbert's not ready. Like, how many quarterbacks are ready for this season? How many rookie quarterbacks were drafted this year that are playing right now? How many? How many are there? I mean, Joe Burrow's in there starting right now for a first team in the NFL, and he's looking pretty damn good. And I don't know about
the Bengals
Anthony
are better
Lynn.
than the Jets.
That's a good point. I do think they are at this moment. But here's another thing. Like, Justin Herbert, he did not okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Justin Herbert, knowing 5 minutes before the game started, hey, you're starting. Okay. Oh, that's crazy. 5 minutes to prepare yourself psychologically for that. I am facing the Super Bowl champions. He goes out there, throws a 70% completion game, throws for 305 yards and a touchdown, sends them into overtime against the best team in the NFL, and you say, oh yeah, he's not ready. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Like, how can you not look at that game and say, oh yeah, Justin Herbert looked pretty damn good. Maybe we'll give him a shot. We'll let him keep trying this.
And to continue on this tangent, I'm just going to say this right now, that how could they also almost lose to the Chargers without Derwin James, arguably their best player on defense right there?
They lost a bunch of players. The Chargers have lost, their best center. They lost their safety. They lost a lot of people. Seriously.
Joey Bosa did come in clutch, though,
for even letting that game be close. Honestly. They should be ashamed. I mean, that should tell everyone follow the Chargers game plan. Whatever they did Sunday, do that. Because apparently that's how you almost beat the Chiefs. And I mean, look, it's not about the semantics here, Anthony Lynn, of who should get the job because of this or that. It should ultimately be about who gives you the best chance to win. And Tyrod Taylor ain't done that. He's played for 5 different teams. You're telling me that a guy that played for 5 different teams has had 48 starts and doesn't have a 500 record. You're telling me that guy gives you a better chance to win over your young quarterback that you drafted number 6 in the draft for? Dude, that's ridiculous. That's dumb.
Remember, Tyrod lost his starting position to Baker Mayfield for almost the same reason, for a medical issue. He got a concussion. Once Baker got that start, he sat down. So I feel bad for Tyrod. He's like, yes, I'm going to finally make this my own. And then next thing you know, fate says, we're going to let the young guy go. If I'm Tyrod Taylor, I'd go sign with the Jaguars.
You drafted Justin Herbert, number 6 in the draft. Freaking use him. I don't know what it is about these 6th picks in the draft now that all of a sudden these teams decide they don't want to use right away, but it's stupid. It's stupid. Look at what Daniel Jones is now. Daniel Jones actually looks like a relatively decent quarterback out there. He actually looks pretty decent. I mean,
remember when he got drafted and we're all like, what the hell?
Oh, everybody was like that. I mean, Daniel Jones was nothing spectacular last season or at the start of this year, but he's not looked terrible. He's not been a god-awful quarterback. He still makes some really dumb young quarterback mistakes, though. That one interception he threw against the Steelers in week 1, where he tried to throw it off his back foot and got hit, and it flailed 5 yards at the 5-yard line, and Cam Hayward picked it off. Dude, you don't have to make that throw. Just either take the sack or throw it out. There's no reason to try and do that. But all right, let's go into week 3 games here, guys, because I'm trying to get myself back into a situation here where I can beat you all. All right, first game, and ironically enough, it's one of the most injured teams in all football right now. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Giants at MetLife Stadium. Toby, who are you picking here?
I'm going with the 49ers. I know they have a lot of injuries on their team right now, but Nick Mullins last week didn't look too uncomfortable on the field, being their quarterback. And I think it's going to be enough for the Giants. And it's actually one of my odds games as well. I'm going to go with the 49ers at minus 3.5 points at the odds of minus 105. I just think the 49ers can still make it happen against the Giants right now, even with all the injuries they have.
Josh?
I'm going to go with the Giants because I just think that the 49ers are just too hurt to really make anything. Like, I think right now they're just going to be like trying to regroup, but with the amount of weapons they lost, I got to go with the Giants on this one.
Game for me because, you're right. So many injuries and so many key spots, but they do have the better head coach. They got the better offensive mindset.
Don't you dare.
Yes, I will dare. Kyle Shanahan is still a better coach. They still have the better offensive line. They're still able to run the football, and they're still able to keep time of possession. And the Giants are without Saquon Barkley, their best weapon on the field. So I am going the 49ers. I think it'll be a rough game for both sides. I feel like this could be a pretty low-scoring game, but I think the 49ers will win time of possession. All right, the Washington football team versus the Cleveland Browns. Josh, what are you picking here?
I'm going to go with Cleveland because I finally think that they actually started to click in that Bengals game. Now, do I think Baker Mayfield is the future? No, but they still have Nick Chubb, and
You and I are still like we are always constantly talking to Chase about that. Like,
yeah,
how are you going to feel if Baker only gets him to a 500 season this year?
Yeah,
given all the talent that they have.
Tangent. I had a conversation with a couple Browns fans in my family, and it seems like the consensus was to ditch Chubb to keep Baker. And I'm like, no, you don't. If you had to choose between re-signing Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb, you are taking Nick Chubb 100% of that time because he's done more for your team than what Baker Mayfield has ever done.
Okay,
I think right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go first.
I'm going to say this right now. I got the Browns winning this one. But at the end of the season, if they don't show any more improvement at all, Baker Mayfield is gone. I'm saying it right now. If you're smart, you're re-signing Nick Chubb and you're getting rid of Baker Mayfield.
Okay, Toby, your response to who's more important, Nick Chubb or Baker Mayfield, and then your prediction.
I definitely would cut Baker Mayfield before Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is the kind of player you have to build your offense around right now in Cleveland. My pick here is also the Cleveland Browns, but I think it's going to be a close game, which is why in my odds I have the Washington football team cover the spread at plus 7 points at the odds of minus 110.
Yeah, Josh, that's complete and utter nonsense. Nick Chubb is the second best running back in the NFL when it comes to yardage. Nick Chubb does, like you said, much more to help that offense move than Baker Mayfield does. There are actually reports out there that Case Keenum might start for Baker Mayfield at some point because with Case Keenum having knowledge of Stefanski's offense, it would actually make a decent amount of sense if they decided to go away from it. Oh man, this is a tough one here, boys. Cause I don't know. I don't think that game against the Eagles was a mirage. And I don't think that the Washington football team actually played a really bad game against the Cardinals. The Cardinals right now are honestly one of the most explosive teams in the NFL right now, and they just happen to catch them at home. Oh, I am gonna go with the Browns. It'll be very close, I think. I think that Washington with that front seven's getting really good. They're getting confident, and they're gonna keep things modest for Cleveland. They're gonna have to find a way to air it out, and that's what they should do. Keep them from running the football at all. Make Baker Mayfield beat you, and that's the best way, honestly, to win. So, yeah, I'll go Browns, but I think it's gonna be close. All right. Next game, Eagles versus the Bengals. For me, I have the Eagles in this one because, let's face it, this is a must-win for them. This is a must-win. If they lose, their season is practically done before it started. They have to win this game in order to be able to salvage some humility on top of the really bad start to the season that they've had. So, I think the Eagles win in this one. By double digits in this one. I think they figure it out this week. Toby, what do you got?
I'd like to disagree with you here. I think the Eagles still have to deal with a lot of injuries, and the Bengals haven't looked too bad in the first 2 weeks, especially like you said, Joe Burrow is looking pretty decent. So I think right here we're gonna see the first win for Joe Burrow in the National Football League.
Okay, dude, if the Eagles actually lose, I am not going to want to see my friend's reaction Sunday. I am not going to want to see it. I promise you, he will probably go on stream and he will probably be dropping F-bombs and throwing shit. I'm not kidding. He will probably throw his mic. He will probably throw something. Because his fan base is up in arms on this Eagles team right now, and they have been bad. If they're
EDP
that bad,
445. EDP 445.
Yeah, I want to see EDP's reaction to that. It would be the greatest thing ever, and just every word. Like, I'm not allowed to
Dude,
swear.
I honestly,
I can
like
imagine.
it.
I can hear it in my head. In my head.
What the fuck? You know,
it's every sentence.
No, did you see his video when they drafted Jalen Hurts when he thought they were gonna get like Denzel Mims?
I watched it.
Because he's like, all right, let's get more wide receivers. Denzel Mims, Jalen Hurts. He throws his hat up like this season's fucking ruined.
It was WTF, man. It's just all the damn time. His reaction.
But Toby or Derek, whoever's taking the list, I got the Bengals here. I think that the Eagles
are.
Okay,
so the only one that has the Eagles. Okay. I thought this was the one that we were all going to come to a consensus on here, but I guess not. Okay.
Toby and I did. You're just the odd one out because you want to win so bad.
All right. I guess I have to do what I have to do. Raiders versus the Patriots. Probably one of the tougher games to talk about this week. Josh, who do you have?
Oh boy, this is hard. Give me the Raiders. I like the Raiders in this one.
Okay.
I think that the Raiders have enough of a defense to stop Cam Newton because Cam Newton is that Patriots offense right now. And I just think that if they can stop Drew Brees and the Saints, I think they can stop Cam Newton and this pretty much deflated defense of the Patriots and all that stuff. So give me the Raiders.
Toby, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close one. I had a hard time figuring it out as Josh did. But I'm gonna go with the Patriots right here. I think Cam Newton can figure something out to pull off a close win for the New England Patriots. But that's also why I have this game in the Toby's odds, because I think Las Vegas will cover the spread of plus 5.5 points at the odds of -110.
I am going with the Patriots here as well. I don't think they have the turnover mistakes that the Saints did and other teams have against the Raiders so far. And I think that they'll be a little more consistent, and Belichick at home still can't deny that he just does his best work there. I think the Patriots will find a way, especially since with Cam playing at the level that he's at and playing as a mobile quarterback, it adds a different element that I don't know if this Raiders defense is ready to be able to exploit yet. All right, so the Bears versus the Falcons. Two mediocre teams, pretty much. Toby, who do you have?
It's a tough one for me, to be honest, and I kind of want to give it to the Falcons at home, but I don't think that the Falcons could even stop Mitch Trubisky, so that's why I'm going with the Bears right here.
Josh, who are you going with?
I got to go with the Bears as well. I think they just have too much of a better defense. They're going to get to Matt Ryan and whoever the heck their running back is.
I am going with the Bears here also. I think week 2, that's going to spoil over to this week because emotions are high. And the Bears, say what you want about Trubisky, he's actually looked decent so far this season, even though he's not been fantastic. He's been decent. Decent enough to win them games. They've been winning games, so ultimately I think the Bears are just in a better spot right now. And I agree with Josh that I think that defense is just going to exploit some of the problems that the Falcons offense is dealing with. Okay. Rams versus the Bills. Josh, who do you got?
Give me the Bills. I just like them in this matchup.
Toby?
Yeah, same here. Bills at home. Taking the Bills.
This is tough here because the Rams have looked really good offensively. They look like they're almost back to what they originally looked like. But ultimately, they're still the gosh, this is tough because the Bills almost did lose to the Dolphins, but the Bills being at home, having the advantage of home field advantage plus their defense, I'll probably go with the Bills here too, to be honest. Texans versus the Steelers. I will give my take on this first, and that I think the Steelers win this one. I think that the Steelers' defensive line is going to create problems for Deshaun Watson most of this game. The Texans have just as many injury problems that they're dealing with. I think the Steelers being at home too also helps them. So I have the Steelers in this one. Josh, who are you taking here?
The Steelers. That defense is fantastic right now. And I just think that they're more put together than what the Texans are at this point. Tell me, Texans fans, Deshaun Watson is so great. How come he doesn't have a new number 1 wide receiver? Why is he still passing it around?
Anyone that mentioned that, anyone that said that wide receiver group was better without Deshaun Watson,
you're lying. You're lying to yourself.
Is liars. Yeah,
you're lying.
Because DeAndre Hopkins is having a career year already. He had 14 catches in week 1, and then an 8 this week. He has 22 catches in 2 weeks. Holy hell! All right, Toby, go ahead.
All right, yeah. Josh kind of said exactly the point that I wanted to make here with the Steelers defense, and that's also why I'm going with the Steelers right here.
All right, sweet.
Because
okay.
Screw the Texans. Screw them 7 ways to Monday.
Just let them suck. Well, here's the thing too. I feel bad for the Texans because dude, talk about one of the roughest schedules to start the year. You start the year off Thursday Night Football, the first game of the whole season. You started off against the Super Bowl champions on their home turf when they just came off of raising the flag and the banner for their Super Bowl win. And then you have to go on the next week to go to play in your home stadium against Baltimore. And everybody knows how difficult Baltimore is. And then you have to face one of the best defenses in the NFL again and go and face the Steelers. That is rough. As a rough start to the schedule. Okay. The Tennessee Titans versus the Minnesota Vikings. Toby, who do you have?
Soda Viking.
Yeah, it's again a lot of tough games this week to predict, and the Titans are 2-0, but they haven't really convinced me they're that good of a team. And the Vikings being 0-2, I don't think they're actually that bad. They looked worse than they actually are. I think at home the Vikings can pull off the upset here against the Tennessee Titans.
Josh, who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Toby and take the Vikings. I think this is when they finally shake that, like, bug or whatever they got holding them down.
I don't know, man.
Look at this man. He's so desperate to win, he's going to choose against us.
There is a lot of chatter going on right now between Mike Zimmer and these players, man. I feel like this team has lost some confidence. They've seemed to have gotten away from their game plan a little bit. And yes, Tennessee has not
the Titans.
The Tennessee has not looked as good as what they could be. But Tennessee does have certain strengths at spots where I think they can take advantage of Kirk Cousins again. This will be my upset. I'm going with the Titans. I'm going with the Titans here. All right. Panthers versus the Chargers. Josh, who are you taking?
Without Christian McCaffrey, that offense is nothing for the Panthers.
Toby.
Yeah, exactly what Josh said. I'm also taking the Chargers right here. Without Christian McCaffrey, they look decent in week 1 with Teddy Bridgewater, but week 2 against Tampa Bay, they actually showed how good their offense actually is. That's also why I think the Chargers win by more than 6.5 points, which is the spread on this game, with the odds of -110.
And I am going with the Chargers too. Justin Herbert has a whole week to prepare himself, get ready for this opponent, and the Panthers are without their best weapon. So I think that makes sense.
Remember, this is what happened, folks, when you invest too much in the defense in the draft and not in offense. This is what happens.
True. All right, Jets versus the Colts. I have the Colts. The Colts are actually the widest margin of victory odds in this week. They're actually an 11.5 point favorite against the Jets, which, you know, is quite crazy to think about. But Josh, who are you taking here? If I need to ask.
Colts. Yeah, Colts. I was going to mess with you and say my upset pick for the week here.
I would have been fun. All right, Toby, go ahead.
Yeah, of course, I'm also going with the Colts. I haven't included them in my odds, but I think that spread should also be a good spot to take a bet on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, the Cowboys versus the Seahawks. I'll go first again. I will just throw this stat out there, boys. This is going to shock you if you haven't been paying attention to Russell Wilson recently. Russell Wilson, in 2 games, has 7 incompletions. You know how many touchdowns he has? 7. He has as many touchdowns right now as he has incompletions through the first 2 weeks. Shut up, Josh.
Oh, my God. I did not know that. Oh, my.
You are an asshole, I swear to God. All right, Toby, go ahead. What are you picking here?
Yeah, I mean, you almost already said it. Because of Russell Wilson and the Seahawks at home, I don't think you can pick against the Seahawks, even with the Cowboys coming off that upset win, or that win from behind against the Falcons last week.
All right, Josh, what do you got?
I got the Seahawks. I think that they're going to win this one. They're just like one of the well put together teams.
All right. Lions versus the Cardinals. I'm picking the Cardinals in this one, guys. I mean, Lions have a couple of injuries they're dealing with, and the Cardinals, right at this moment in time, look like one of the best teams in the NFL at the moment. So Cardinals at home again with that monster of an offense that they have right now. Give me the Cardinals. Toby, who do you got?
Yeah, same here with how Kyler Murray plays this year. I don't think the Lions stand a chance at home against Arizona. Yeah.
Josh.
I think that this is going to be the game that gets Matt Patricia fired. I got the Cardinals.
So you're predicting a huge blowout.
Yeah.
What's that blowout number, actually? You got to tell me the number.
I got the Cardinals winning 35-7.
That's it? If it were to be a
It's
blowout
still a
to
lot.
where it would fire Matt Patricia, I would think it'd have to be in the 50s, dog.
Well,
Like
how about we
50 to,
take a
like-
look at Matt Patricia's winning record and adding one more loss onto that
That
one?
hasn't stopped him yet. That hasn't stopped him yet.
The Lions are holding
They
out hope
lost
that he's the
Darius
next Bill
Slay
Belichick.
because of his
He's
fat
shit.
ass.
He's
Come
a
on.
shit head coach. He's going to get fired after this one because the Lions are finally starting to see, hey, maybe he's not Bill Belichick. Huh, I think we screwed over Jim Caldwell because you know what Jim Caldwell could do that Matt Patricia couldn't? He knows how to frickin' win. And you know what
True.
they did? Screw it. Get him out of here. He doesn't know how to win. Well,
Caldwell
apparently he
actually held
does.
players accountable.
Yes,
All right.
he did.
All right. We got that little one out. You're welcome, everyone. Bucks versus the Broncos. I'm going with the Bucks here. Even though it's on the road. Basically the Broncos lost half of their offense with losing Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton. So, I mean, the Bucks have the much better offense right now. So I'll go with the Bucks here. Toby, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm also going with the Bucks here. As you mentioned, Drew Lock is now playing. Cortland Sutton isn't playing. They lost Von Miller before the season on their defense. I think Philip Lindsay is also dealing with an injury, and we don't know if he's playing. So I don't know who is gonna play that we know off for Denver. That's also why I think a 5.5 point spread for the Buccaneers isn't enough at the odds of 110.
Josh?
Bucks. Give me the Bucks.
Simple as that. All right. Packers versus the Saints on Sunday Night Football. Toby, why don't you go ahead and give us yours, man?
All right. I think this game is going to be a good one. Usually the Saints, after a game like last week against the Raiders, like I said, we've seen it for the last 7 years. They need that one game to actually wake up. And from what I've heard from the Saints, Sean Payton kept them in Las Vegas and delayed their plane for several hours because they actually went over the game film in Las Vegas in their hotel before they actually could fly home. And that's, I think, one of the things that helps the Saints come back to their old strength. And that's, I think, is going to be the way to beat the Packers this week at home in the Superdome.
Saints. Josh, what do you got?
I like the Packers. I think Aaron Jones is going to do incredibly well for them. Now, it's also has to do with also Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know if you saw the Pat McAfee show yesterday, but I think one of his co-hosts just went on this giant tirade about the Saints and ended up with it saying, "Fuck Drew Brees. Everybody knows that Aaron Rodgers is the better one." Well, I don't know about that, but I like the Packers in this one because it just feels right. It just does.
Now, if I was positive they would have Devontae Adams in this game, I would 100% say the Packers. I'd be right there with you, Josh. But here's my thing. They're back at home. They are, again, for the third time, 3 weeks in a row, they're playing in a dome. They're going to be back home, and they're going to be ready and energized. And look, I get that the Packers have looked really good. They've also played against really crappy teams, going up against the Vikings and the Lions in back-to-back weeks. They're not used to playing against a team that can actually get pressure on the quarterback. So I look for the Saints to really come out early and hit Aaron Rodgers really quickly, and then they're not going to be able to recover. So, yeah, I think the Saints pull this one out, too. All right, final game, and it's the game of the week. Some people probably say that. The Chiefs versus the Ravens on Monday Night Football. Toby, what do you got here, man?
Oh, it's a tough one. It's definitely gonna be fun to watch. Two of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. But at the end, even though they struggled last week, I think Patrick Mahomes can find a way past that Baltimore defense, and the Kansas City Chiefs will win that game.
All right, I'm gonna pick mine first before I go into Josh. We'll make
I hope
this
you
a
don't go
little
into
bit
me.
hard. We'll make this a little bit harder on Josh. I am going with the Ravens here. Regular season time, the Chiefs came off a really bad performance against the Chargers. The Ravens just came off a really good performance against the Texans. One team is more prepared. They're at home, and I think that just in this particular matchup, I think that Lamar Jackson has something to prove. Something to prove in this matchup that the Ravens are here. They are ready to compete at the highest level. And I think this is the game to do it. I think that the Ravens pull this one out. And if they pull this one out, they might go undefeated the whole year. On God, they might. Josh, go ahead.
So right now we're looking at two quarterbacks that are pretty much the faces of their franchises for the next 10 odd years.
Faces of the NFL, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're looking at basically I think we're looking at the next Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady right here between Patrick Mahomes
Just
and Lamar
a little
Jackson.
different in the sense that they both can run. A little different in that regard, but yeah, we get the point.
Yeah. Oh boy. Give me the Ravens.
All right,
that
that's it. Boy.
Give me the Ravens because I just think that although I have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce on my fantasy team, I think that defense is just better than the Chiefs' defense at this point. And I think Lamar Jackson adds something else that Patrick Mahomes doesn't add to the Chiefs, and that's his mobility. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, you just see him, he just goes straight, just straightforward. But Lamar Jackson, he makes plays. He makes something out of nothing. And that's not to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes. It's just to say that Lamar Jackson, when he's on the run, I think he's going to go to the end zone more often than whatever Patrick Mahomes ever does when he's on the run. So that versatility is going to add to how the Ravens are going to win Sunday night.
The only reason I have the Ravens winning this game, the only reason is because it's regular season. I don't think that whichever team loses this game, it's really not going to impact them that much. I mean, both of these teams are going to the playoffs. If these teams remain healthy, both of them are going to end up probably competing for a Super Bowl later on in the year anyways. So if it was then, I would definitely pick Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But right now, I just think with the Ravens being at home, I just think that gives them a slight advantage. Don't they have fans? Are they going to have fans for that game? I don't know if they are.
I'm not sure.
I think they have to for this game, for this matchup. I think they.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have to for this matchup. Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that's
going to do it here. I think that's going to do it for this
night.
podcast.
Wait, was that Monday
night?
Yeah,
that was Monday night.
Yeah,
that was Monday night. All right, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Great stuff, and we have some differing opinions on some games, so definitely will be interesting. The records will definitely change up a little bit this week. But thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at T3DS_NFL. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to listen on Spotify. And as always, guys, peace.
See ya.
Later. Remember to wash your hands. I know that you didn't when you got out of the toilet.